Alright, I wanted to share a small follow-up here to the Taurus TX22 riser, or Picatinny rail. The creator of this, I think, called it a TX22 mount riser 22 millimeter. So this is the hilarity that you can create by using such a Picatinny rail on a 22 caliber pistol. I obviously don't recommend it, but I think it's funny. I ended up getting the M4 by 30 millimeter screws so that I can actually attach it securely to the rail that's on the front of the TX22. Now, the reason why I'm making this is there's a couple issues. One, the rail, or this riser rail, whatever we want to call it, does have a little play in it. I mean, it's just barely. If you torque down these screws, it gets pretty snug, but it does move. So what I'm probably going to do, and what I would probably recommend, is to take this off the gun, and he put a seam right here, which is probably intended just so this could flex and grab a hold of that bottom rail on the gun tightly. I don't think there's enough space in between the two halves on the bottom of this in order to flex enough. So you probably need to run a razor blade or a file. I don't know if you can get a file in there. Probably a razor blade down there to scrape out some of the excess material so that you can get a little bit of a gap, so that you can pinch down a little tighter on the rail on the gun to not have any wobble in this. You may be able to fix that with print settings as well. I'm not exactly sure. I'm not sure I intend on using this for a whole lot of things, so other than playing around. So I don't know that I'm going to print a bunch of these in order to tweak it and get it just right. The other issue I had with it is the Picatinny rail part. This really cheap scope is not, I mean, you probably can't even see it on camera, but there is a little bit of wobble there with this goofy quick release mount that they have. Now I've tried this cheap scope on other standard pick rails, and it does work fine. It does secure it well. So it's not because of that. So you're not using the scope. Nobody, I don't think, would use the scope other than to look funny. But I think this pick rail is not quite in spec. Again, you could probably fix that with print settings. If not, I guess the alternative would be just to use a scope mount or a red dot mount, which is more realistic, that you can just torque down with screws instead of having this quick release that has just a fixed throw. It's only going to move that far, that's it. If you got something with a nut and a bolt in it, you can tighten it down as much as you need to get it nice and secure. Again, these were 30 millimeter M4 screws, and the author mentions that on the Thingiverse site for his design on this model. Not sure what else to mention about here. I guess I would like to point out that the front of this does stick out just so slightly from the front of the gun. I don't think that's an issue. I don't know if he did that because he wanted to get as much length as he could to get a good stopping point for the rail, or if it was just a minor mistake. I have no idea, but anyway, it does hang off the front a little bit. 22 is probably not going to damage the front of this riser. but I did want to point that out. It doesn't quite look maybe as pretty as a factory modeled piece might be. It does seem functional though. So again, bravo to the author. I'll put a link in the description, and it's worth trying if you got a TX22. I wish they'd put more of these designs out for things like this, because this is, you know, even if it's not the most practical thing in the world, it gives you something you can experiment with and see what it would be like to put a red dot or a scope or whatever you want to do. And you put a big deer scope on here if you want and hang it off. Of course, the rail's short, so if you got a scope with rings that are spread apart, that ain't, it's not going to work. But I like it. I think you should try it out. And I wanted to make sure I give a follow-up video, just because I didn't even have screws for this one. I did my very first video and it was on a shaky camera, and I just didn't like how that turned out, so I wanted to share an update. Hope you guys give it a try and let me know what you think about it. Have a good one.